Hey guys, what's up? Time for another game theory video. Remember, if you like the videos, like, subscribe, comment, share, support the channel if you want. Today is going to be a very nerdy video. As if all the other videos are not nerdy when I'm doing game theory videos. But this video might be particularly nerdy. This video is going to talk about a little bit, right? Watch all the other videos. I talk about how there's only so much progression you can do in a fighting game. And that's why a lot of times I think progression is good, right? But a lot of the times the only true progression you can do in a fighting game is kind of by adding new systems, right? A new system to the game, right? To throw a different spin on the character, because characters themselves, archetypes for characters are important. Okay, these clear different kind of archetypical strengths, you know what I mean, often make the characters more unique, because as fighting games have progressed on throughout the years, lots of times these characters have kind of become different shades of gray. You know what I mean? Like, oh, this fireball character, we're weakening his fireball a little bit. Maybe we're going to start to give him more pokes. But if we give him more pokes, now the character that was more of a poking character, we have to, give everyone a little bit of something else. And you know what? Then characters become that kind of shade of gray that I talk about. And that's why I talk about actually progressing fighting games is kind of hard if you just think about characters, because then these character archetypes that are so important sometimes don't work as well as they should, right? Did you get what I'm getting at? I do these video game theory videos are so in depth and there's so many of them, right? But I saw this image recently, and I just thought I thought the image was amazing. The image was so amazing that I had to make a video on it. So the picture above, you might not be able to tell the difference, right? Such a minuscule difference, right? The first picture is Ryu in Street Fighter 2. The second picture is Ryu in Street Fighter 2 Championship Edition. Such a minuscule difference. And can you tell the difference? The difference is just a little bit of his foot is a little bit back, right? And I have this image here, which we're also going to talk about Ryu's sweep, because Ryu's sweep is also a move that has changed as the progression of Street Fighter has gone on. And I think it's interesting, right? So we see Ryu's sweep right here. Let's say Street Fighter 2, boom, I can hit at this range, right? Now imagine if I was a character that actually had a longer range sweep, or a longer range, say Guile's duck forward in Street Fighter 2, whatever. Maybe Guile's duck forward actually hits about there, might hit Ryu, right? Whatever it is. Ryu is not considered so much a poking character, I don't think you would think. Obviously in Street Fighter 2, a lot of moves don't even hit you ducking, right? But as the progression of fighting games went on, we see characters like Ryu, and I even talk about this in the proximity normals and why they're important. And once you go into like games like Alpha, by removing proximity normals, you started having to give characters like Ryu and Ken a normal that you have, a versatile normal that can actually hit a character ducking, right? Which then makes these Shoto characters kind of versatile in a poking way that normally they couldn't. Whereas normally you might think of back in the day in Street Fighter, when you think about poking with Ryu, well, you can poke with a fireball, of course, or you might think about, duck forward or a duck roundhouse, and you could actually cancel a duck roundhouse into a fireball before they took that away. But again, as the progression of fighting games went on, you're like, well, fuck, now Ryu has some poking attacks, whatever, blah, 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 legitimately that you can walk forward. It's not like a ducking normal. They have to block it low. So maybe having Ryu's duck sweep, we don't want him to have a sweep duck fireball, right? That shade of gray that I'm talking about. But anyway, long tangent, right? Because this is such a fucking nerdy video that I don't know if people are even going to be able to appreciate it, right? Let's just use, maybe I could have used Guile's duck forward, but we got Ryu. Ryu's sweep can hit from here, right? In the original Street Fighter 2. But once Championship Edition came, look at this, we go down. Oh, wait a second. It can't hit him. Wait a second. And just this little minuscule difference, right? This little minuscule difference. Because we have a character like Ryu, who back in the day, again, we're thinking about just, I'm trying to take this, grain of salt, trying to keep this very basic. Because obviously you can poke with a sweep. You can poke with these attacks, right? You know what I mean? But the idea that characters that had standing normals that you had to block low. It was not all across the board back in the day, right? So if we take the original Street Fighter 2, if we take the idea that, and not that it can't be in newer games too, you know, a fireball is a projectile, but a fireball is also a poke from a certain distance, right? Especially, especially, you know, we're thinking about Ryu. What do you do with your Ryu? You know what I mean? Once you got the red fireball, boom, where's the fire? I know this is such a fucking nerdy video, and I hope you can go with me. Ryu has the red fireball. It goes like that. It's got that little shield. And you know what? I think it's crazy. I hear some people actually don't like the way that Ryu's fireball looks in Super Turbo. But I actually always thought it looks kind of cool. It's got that little bubble. It's got a little wavy trail here. I think it looks pretty cool. But anyway, the point is, if we take a game like the original Street Fighter 2, a character like Ryu doesn't have a lot of long-range normals, let alone not a lot of pokes. If this were Guile, again, like I was saying, Guile would be able to fucking... This is the production value on this show. Guile might be hitting you from here. And we're like, wow, what does Ryu do? He doesn't have pokes like these other characters that can poke you. Any other character can sweep you, you know, Chun-Li. You know, these other characters actually have standing normals that you got to block ducking. What does a character like Ryu do? He's the Fireball Dragon Punch character. Does he have a poke that can even compete with these guys? Well, no, because just such a minuscule difference trying to poke with a fireball, I get hit from these ranges. I can't even use my fireball as a poke, right? But in Championship Edition, they made just this little bitty change to make Ryu so you could actually use his fireball as a poke. So you didn't have to commit to a Dragon Punch all the time, right? Of course, you can still Dragon Punch a poke, or obviously we know that, right? Hopefully we know that, right? But there is that sort of mid-range spot where characters were like, you know, playing footsies, whatever, you know what I mean? And you like fireball the poke, right? Ryu steps back, and if you've ever played old school Street Fighter, and I'm not saying you can't do it in newer fighting games either, but hopefully you get what I'm getting. Like, such a minuscule difference. Oh, you get hit from here. Imagine this is the sweep, or, you know, but, oh, fuck. But now Ryu stands back. Hopefully you see me, he goes back, and he pulls back, but when the guy pokes, he steps into it. Just this minuscule difference allows Ryu to actually use his fireball as a poke correctly, right? I just saw this image, you know what I mean? And this wasn't exactly where the image was being talked about. It was a Japanese site, and they were just talking about the changes. They talked about this a little bit, but I'm trying to kind of put this together to talk about some of the other game theory videos that I've talked about. Because I thought just looking at the image, it really talks about and shows the importance of like character archetypes, I just thought, right? And the sort of nuancy of moves, right? Sort of the chaos and the balance and the chaos and the balance, whatever it is, you know what I mean? Again, such a nuanced topic. You know, of course you can poke with Ryu, and maybe that's why. Maybe you think back in the day, oh, well, fuck, you know, people, I still think Ryu sweep should be, you know, cancelable, but maybe the newer school players like, oh, well, fuck, you know, Ryu already has pokes. Do we also want his sweep to be cancelable into a fireball, you know? And I would say yes. Because in the first place, you shouldn't be making Ryu a character that has so many pokes like this, right? I'm down with, you know what I mean? And that's why, and I've even made these like crazy videos talking about the hop kick. Why the hop kick is such a intricate move that you could make in Street Fighter, because it kind of throws a conundrum into the idea of what is Ryu. Because it's such a potentially versatile move that is potentially problematic for an archetypical strength character of Fireball Dragon Punches, right? A hop kick is a potential conundrum of a move. And watch the hop kick, how I would put the hop kick in Street Fighter if I was making Street Fighter, because again, it's a move that needs to be nuanced, right? And I don't think newer games really appreciate the nuancy that needs to come into them, right? Instead, everything is just this kind of shade of gray, and characters start to not feel special, right? Video games, they do need to progress, right? But I think a lot of the progression really is the system of the video game that you can work with, right? Because these archetypical characters and what should be good about them, I think the foundation is pretty much there. And I think too many times they try to fuck up the foundation of a character by making every character have this kind of shade of gray of each other, or too many shades of gray. Do you get what I'm getting at? Anyway, I know this is a very nerdy video and I'm kind of talking about going all over the place with a lot of different topics I've talked about, but hopefully if you've ever played fighting games and can see this sort of just so very, very specific, right? Let's just take this line. Oh, look at this. Where's this line, man? Oh, where's the line? The production values here, dude. Do you see that? Oh, I fucked that up. But you get that? You see that? It's like, wow, what's the difference? And you're like, wow, that is actually, you know what I mean? And of course, there are things you can do. Of course, Street Fighter 2 has mashing on duck lights, Ryus duck short. You know what I mean? You can do that to kind of stuff some normals like that a little bit, especially if you ever played back in the day. You know what I mean? There used to be, to beat scrubs, you know what I mean? Used to be like, just mash on duck short and see if people know how to beat that, right? If the guy jumps, stand forward or dragon punch, right? The people that, you know what I mean? You could scrub people out like that, right? But anyway, just hopefully you get some of the nuances that I'm talking about here, because I saw that image and I'm like, man, that is one, I'm a fucking nerd. I am a fucking nerd for thinking that picture that's an awesome picture, an awesome comparison, because it is just it's an amazing picture, I think. And just an amazing fucking picture right there. Anyway, if you like the videos, like, subscribe, comment, share, support the channel. I appreciate it at the end.